Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to today's webinar, Secrets of a Successful CoE, a Q&A with Groupon. We have Groupon and Impetus here today to talk through what a CoE is and what are Groupon's 2 secrets to a successful CoE and how Impetus helped them get there. So on the call today is myself. So actually, before I jump ahead on who is on the call today, we're going to walk through 3 secrets of a successful CoE. Groupon is going to give a couple of specifics around their center of excellence, their Anaplan journey, and why a CoE is important. Also, we'll walk through the master data management model that Groupon has implemented with the help of Impetus, what it is and why that's important, as well as the custom enablement program that Impetus helped Groupon put together and why the CoE should lead a training and enablement program. So on the call today is myself, Dragana Kangrga. I am one of the CoE team members at Groupon, one of 4 model builders. The other 2 on the call, Wendy and Kevin, if you want to introduce yourselves.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy. I'm a master Anaplanner, had 6 years of Anaplan experience, and I'm currently a senior manager at Impetus Consulting Group. And Impetus is a gold partner with Anaplan for the past 3 years. We currently have 50+ Anaplan model builders nationwide. And we've also focused across multiple industries and have done projects for over 50+ clients. And on the call with me today is also Kevin.
Well, thanks, Wendy. My name is Kevin Jacokes. I'm a senior manager with Impetus Consulting Group. I've worked in the data and performance management space for about 10 years now, and specifically worked with Groupon on a master data management solution that we'll be talking about today. Very excited to be here. Back to you, Dragana.
Actually, I'm going to hand it off to Wendy. I think she'll take on the next few slides.
Awesome. Thanks. So I think before we got started and jumped into how Anaplan CoE was accomplished at Groupon and how they tackled it, we wanted to briefly talk about what a center of excellence actually is. And so the definition is that it's a team that really promotes, shares, and collaborates on specific technical focus areas. In this case, that is the Anaplan platform. So it really helps to efficiently, effectively achieve different business objectives, right? So that you can get things done faster and more efficiently, and also create and follow certain best practices, as well as help share knowledge amongst the entire organization for a specific technical focus area like Anaplan. There's usually 2 ways that we see how you can govern a center of excellence. There's pros and cons, I think, to either of those options. And obviously you can meet somewhere in the middle. So there's the centralized method or the federated method. With many of our clients, we find that they usually like to start or tend to start in a federated fashion, where they have one Anaplan model started in one department, another one started in a different department, and you really start that conversation with talking to each other, but you're really wearing a lot of different hats. I think as more and more models grow, you gravitate towards a more centralized CoE. And as part of that, when you become a more centralized effort, that can become your full-time job, which is, I think, something that Groupon has experienced through time as well. And it's, I think, a great interest. If it's something that you're interested in doing, definitely reach out to your project champion at your company if it's something that you're interested in becoming one of your full-time responsibilities. So I think with that, we can then turn it over to Dragana to really explain first what Groupon is and how Groupon operates as a business.
Thank you for that intro, Wendy. So before I get into why Groupon started leveraging Anaplan for their business planning, it would probably be beneficial to understand who Groupon is and why it was so important to utilize a connected planning tool. So Groupon is probably your best destination for local experiences. Groupon is connecting over 43 million customers to hundreds and thousands of merchants worldwide. So pumping an estimated about 20 billion into local businesses. And making all this possible is 6,000 Groupon employees found globally.
Yeah, so then with those 6,000 employees, I guess, Dragana, how has Groupon actually been able to leverage Anaplan for your business planning process?
Yeah, so with such a wide network of users across the company, it is really important that that information be readily available and presentable for anyone who needs it across the organization. So Groupon having a very innovative and fast-paced culture, really in all departments, we needed a platform that complemented that. So we've been on a multi-year journey with Anaplan. It started out with us using to solve a basic issue that many encounter, and that is rolling up a forecast or to roll up an income statement. And then from there, try to leverage more of that platform's capabilities and become more of a planning tool rather than a repository. So before Groupon's finance teams were leveraging a connected planning tool such as Anaplan, it was difficult for finance teams to turn around quick changes and projections. So mainly because the information was just disparate and living in offline Excel files. So creating a slow and monthly quarterly process. But from there, we were able to bring a lot of that forecast process and those work streams into Anaplan and compartmentalize them and the forecast in a way that the business was being run, and get all those finance teams into the tool to do their forecasts, as well as leveraging the tool for consolidations. So integrating Anaplan with our data systems was also a very big focus in order to truly create a seamless month-end close that was in lockstep with accounting. And now at Anaplan at Groupon, we have about 20 plus use cases across finance, finance being our main use case at the moment, and our CoE team of 4 currently supporting much more faster reporting and enforcing a standardized forecast methodology, as well as always looking for opportunities to improve analytics for finance teams.
Cool. So really, what was that vision? How did you really know that you needed to use a CoE to start managing your Anaplan environment?
Yeah, so it's hard to say when the right time to implement a CoE is, but it's important to be aware of those rock stars that are across teams that are really driving ownership and issue resolution in existing models that might exist across any organization, not just being Groupon. So you may currently have those people already across the organization. So I would say that those people are probably already acting as CoE members in some capacity, and centralizing and implementing standards from there on out would really be the next step in unifying all those people and developing that core CoE team. So I would suggest really getting leadership exposed and involved as early as possible in the implementation of new models is also an important key to getting that proper support to form a formal CoE. So I would say that's kind of how Groupon developed that as well in very organic fashion.
Awesome. Thanks, Dragana. And then I think next is, do you mind speaking a bit more detail of the journey where you got to where you are now?
Yeah, definitely.
Anaplan?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off with how, we decided that we needed a CoE. So like I mentioned earlier, it was a really organic way. Although I wasn't officially part of the team before the official formation of the CoE, I joined years after that. But the CoE formation was very gradual. There was always 2 finance team members dedicated to Anaplan in the early days, and those individuals lived on separate teams. So over time, we saw the need for one team, and our leadership team continued to invest in the platform and forming the team dedicated to running it. So as it became more and more integrated with all of finance and FP&A, and the use cases began to grow, the team members that sat on these separate teams were technically CoEs for a very long time. And it was really mid-2017 when we ultimately decided that to officially form a CoE team was necessary. So I would say those are kind of like our early days, 2013, 2015. No formal CoE yet, but like I said, it's a multi-year journey And CoE learned out throughout this journey that you can't just replicate what's being done in offline files. So those files being done offline, they were never intended to be connected. So around 2016, 2017, you really had to take the perspective of what are those dependencies, what are those important processes and work streams that need to be put into Anaplan. And that's where we really expanded the use cases across finance with, you know, a new global forecasting model, workforce planning, dashboards, and vendor level forecasting. So then I guess from there, the second stage of the journey was really heavy lifting, was done truly to analyze those finance work streams and truly create a connected forecast process. So with the introduction of finance use cases everywhere, that's really kind of the bulk of where we really kind of built it up, our Anaplan environment from 2017 to 2018. And then the years to come really were the years of building and enhancing and enablement. We could begin to drill into other pain points. From there, we really began to like drill into other pain points where it wasn't as obvious as just getting, you know, forecast work streams into the model. So these years, 2018 to 2019, were the years we fine-tuned the CoE to really bring an impact behind the scenes, as well as implementing things like a data hub, master data management, an enablement program with the help of Impetus Consulting Group. So really, the MDM and the enablement program propelled our CoE by providing a place to really maintain data integrity, which is very necessary once things become truly connected and integrated across multi-systems, as well as for enablement programs. So it provided a lot of government, the ability for license governance and a standard for model building at Groupon. So our own specific standards.
Nice. So I guess now that we're in 2020, do you have any special goals specifically for the CoE in 2020?
Yeah, so 2020 is still evolving. We're really in its early stages, but in the early months, it looks like the year we're focusing on expanding use cases outside of finance and into sales. So with the help of Impetus, we are developing a model for sales incentive compensation management, which would be our really first large use case outside of finance.
Yeah, very exciting. So now that we're actually speaking of 2020 and currently, what is the actual split of your responsibilities as part of that CoE?
Yeah, so responsibilities of our CoE, we think for any successful CoE consists of three parts. New projects, model management, enablement, where new projects really take up, for us, roughly 70% of our time is spent working on new projects and cases across the finance organization. A lot of what we do is identifying process inefficiencies, whether that be existing models and processes or identifying brand new areas of opportunity that have yet to be explored. But aside from that, we also focus a lot on improving data insights and reporting to align with changes in the business or strategy. So also lumping in with that. I guess the other 30% really is time focused around model management and or what you would say keeping the lights on, as well as enablement. So although enablement isn't the bulk of what we do day to day, it is a very important piece in ensuring that our users are getting the most out of the tool, as well as using it to their highest potential and eliminating any bottlenecks that can occur. So really trying to hone in on doing more with less. It's important to note that it's to keep these buckets, model management, enablement, as small as possible. So by implementing more and more use cases across finance, it's easy to let the model management piece continue to grow and take up a lot of your time. But in order to keep this portion small, automation is really key. So that's where the master data management, or MDM, you could also say, is very important. It allows us to quickly and efficiently ensure data integrity and keep all the systems across Groupon in sync, as well as ultimately keep the close process keep it from getting caught up in simple things like chart of account changes and misnomers.
Awesome. So speaking of that, I think we want to really take the next section of this time to speak about both MDM and enablement. But starting off with MDM, Kevin, who's with us today, set that up for Groupon and really explain why it's so valuable and kind of walk you through what was built for Groupon.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Wendy. Let's talk about master data management. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to talk first about what master data is, and then we're going to talk about what it means to manage it. And then we're going to talk about why master data is really a cornerstone of a center of excellence. We've looked at the journey that Groupon was on, and over the course of that journey, Dragana spoke to the number of models that were created that are supporting all of these interconnected business processes. And all of those models need master data to function, and that master data across those models has to be in sync in order for those models to function. So let's dive right in. Now, what is master data? Let's differentiate master data from fact data. And what is fact data? Well, fact data is facts. It's measures, metrics, and typically it takes the shape of numbers. And so because I'm on a big, great British baking show kick right now, if somebody's baking and they need 3 cups of flour, well, the number 3 is the fact. And the ingredient flour might be a master data measure or item. Cups might also be a measure or an item. And if we think about this from a non-Great British Baking Show perspective, if we think about this from a business perspective, this master data is things like GL accounts, it's departments, it's products. And so when we think about how master data is used in support of fact data, you might be looking at a revenue amount or an expense amount that gets booked to a specific account in a specific department in a specific product, right? And these segments are what's used by organizations to manage their business and measure its performance, which is why they're so important. So I'm going to be stating the obvious for some of you, but just so we're all on the same page, all of these enterprise systems use master data, right? But what's the source of truth for each bit of master data? If we think about an employee master, the employee master might come from your HR information system or HRIS. Your account master might come from your GL system, whether you're on SAP or Oracle or NetSuite. New GL accounts are probably going to come from that general ledger. Your customer master, maybe that's managed in Salesforce, so new customer accounts get added there first, and then every other system that uses customer master data, for instance, for customer level revenue forecasting, right, might need to get that customer master data from Salesforce. So they're used enterprise-wide, right? And keeping them in sync just becomes a perpetual challenge. And as organizations grow and scale, it's easy to forget about master data being just a key ingredient to planning and reporting and analyzing your business's performance and really just growing it, right? And the challenge that this presents can manifest via really acute pain points. Just to name one example, let's say you have a CRO, like a chief revenue officer, that has a meeting with a CFO, and they're talking about what the next year looks like, the next 12 months. And each of them pulls up some figures and they say, okay, so the revenue forecast looks like it's going to be X, but the other person says they thought it was going to be Y. if they are both looking at different numbers because maybe one of their models or systems was missing a GL account, but the others was not, that's a problem, right? And it's not just when you're talking about what your business plan looks like for the next 12 months, but there are key operational things that Dragana knows, I think, very well, that can break down when master data isn't in sync across all of these systems. And so what we're looking at here is a bunch of planning and analytical models that are all connected to a data hub. And what we often see in the Anaplan ecosystem is this concept of a data hub that manages not just our fact data, but it manages and holds our master data. And given how widely this master data is used, we really do need a single source of truth. And we need a single source of truth because if we've got master data originating from all different places and being sent left, right, and up and down, and it becomes very easy for all of these systems to get out of sync. So what tools do we have to make sure that all of these systems are kept in sync from a master data perspective, and to make sure that all of these operational and analytical and reporting systems are kept in sync with our master data. Many of the folks who are on this webinar might already be Anaplan customers. I suspect you are if you're interested in a center of excellence, but even if you're not, Anaplan is a fantastic tool to manage your master data. And it's a fantastic tool because it enables you to quickly and efficiently manage your business and adapt to changes. So whether there is a reorg that's going on where you're reorganizing cost centers in some sort of a substantial way, or you're reshuffling customer accounts in such a way that you need to make those changes in one place and then push them out to other systems. Or if you're launching new products with each of which has a bill of materials that's used across systems. Making those changes manually in a bunch of different places is really, really tedious, time-consuming, error-prone, and challenging in general. But with Anaplan, where many of you are already doing planning and analytical work, in Anaplan, you can create a single source of truth for your master data that leverages all the automation tools that Dragana spoke about her team actually leveraging. It gives you that really user-friendly, efficient experience as you're interacting with Anaplan as a technology. And it just helps you save your time and energy so that you're not manually making these changes everywhere, and refocus that time and energy on just performing as a business, right? You don't want to micromanage all of these systems whenever you change something like a GL account, right? So let's really drill into an example of an environment where we don't necessarily have a very organized master data management and governance. I'm a very visual person, so looking at an image of one such landscape, maybe of an organization that's grown quickly, hasn't really had a chance to focus on good master data management practices. Let's take a look at that, and then let's take a look at what better looks like and talk about why it's better. So a typical current state process, or just a typical landscape prior to actually investing some time and thought and energy into master data management might look a lot like this, where you might have a system like Coupa for procurement, NetSuite as a general ledger, Workday for your HRIS, and a plan for planning and analytics. and then maybe a couple of reporting technologies that are supporting your reporting and analytical functions. And just think about what happens if a new GL account gets created. I mean, it might get created in NetSuite, but then it's got to go to Anaplan. Somebody's got to make sure it gets over to Tableau, but it's also got to get over to Workday, where some salary and benefits math happens and gets mapped to an account. And maybe it also has to get into Coupa if bills are going to get paid, right? You've got to make sure that purchase orders that you have created are going to successfully get processed when they get over into NetSuite. So it's the fact that when something gets created in one place, it then has to be sent many different directions. But it's also just how manual it is. It's oftentimes hard to justify automating something, because as you're rapidly growing and scaling a business, you're focused on growing revenue, managing cost, and at a certain point in your growth, it makes sense to just sort of take a beat and start to look for efficiencies, right? And kind of like I think Dragana was speaking to, where there's a logical point in your growth and development as an organization that's using a strategic technology like Anaplan, where you might stop and say, I really need a center of excellence. I really need to build this capability. Same thing tends to happen with master data management, where you get to a point where there's a lot of value and efficiencies to be gained. And I know it sounds kind of corny, but with master data, if you're not managing it, then it really is managing you, and it's a drag on your time and energy. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what better might look like. Hey, Wendy, out there? Oh, there we go. All right. So better might look a little bit like this. And I think this is illustrative of the state that Groupon is at now. And I'll let Dragana speak to maybe some of the value that she and her team have gotten out of this, if she is so inclined. But here you can use Anaplan as a central master data hub to manage master data in one place. You can make changes to your master data in one place and then push them out in an automated fashion to all systems that need that master data. And if we make the source of truth transparent and visible in Anaplan, we build that workflow to govern changes in Anaplan. And then really importantly, let's say we give all of the various system owners, like the owners of Workday and Coupa and Tableau, the ability to compare whether they're in sync with that single source of truth. That's enormously valuable, because it ensures that all areas of the organization are in lockstep and are always in sync with one another. Okay, so what's the solution really look like in greater detail? And specifically to an end user, and what questions might an end user be asking of an Anaplan master data management solution that Anaplan would help them answer? A couple of common questions are, hey, is my system's master data in sync with a single source of truth, right? If I own the financial consolidations solution, or if I own the planning solution for FP&A, am I in sync with the single source of truth for master data? And then let's say that I'm out in the business and I need to create a new cost center for some reason. Then how can I request those changes such that they get pushed out to all the relevant places, and that happens in speedy fashion? So if we dive into Anaplan, I mean, this is what an Anaplan model could look like. if it was managing your master data. And here, if I put on my consolidations system cap, I might log into Anaplan and say, hey, am I in sync with the current chart of accounts, the source of truth? And Anaplan, can you tell me where I'm out of sync and what specific actions I need to go take in order to fix any potential issues with being in sync? And with Anaplan's very user-friendly interface and the flexible user experience you can create here, we're able to answer a lot of those questions very quickly and then fix them right away. Now, let's say that I just confirmed that I am in sync with the single source of truth, but I'd like to make a change, right? I'd like to maybe move a cost center underneath a new division, or I want to create a new cost center. What would that look like? Well, if I go to my main landing page in a model like this, I might see where I'm at in my monthly master data maintenance cycle, when a request is due, and when I need to get it submitted if it's going to be approved in time for me to book some journal entry to it this month or book some activity to it. So let's say I land here, I see what my calendar looks like for this particular cycle, and I click on Go to Requester homepage. And as a requester, I know that I want to make a request for a new cost center. So let's say I click on Start Request. Now, here I can fill out a form, and what this form is going to do for me is it's going to prompt me for all the information I'm going to need for a cost center that's going to be pushed out to all different systems across the organization. And if let's say the code or the name has to meet certain criteria that might vary by system, I can put all that validation logic in one place so that I'm guaranteed that I'm not going to run into issues due to code length or name length or special characters or uniqueness. I can catch all those issues or potential issues up front before I actually push this cost center out to every other system. So let's now see what it would look like if I scrolled down on this dashboard. And here we can choose what systems this particular cost center might need to be pushed out to. And it might go to every system. It might skip a system or two that might not need it. And we have the ability to save a request as a draft, submit it for approval, or cancel it altogether if we want to. So we've touched a little bit on what a solution could look like to solving some of those master data challenges. We explored what those challenges really look like. And we talked a little bit about just the basics of what master data is relative to fact data. Now, I want to be conscious of our time, but Dragana, is there anything that you wanted to add from the perspective of an organization that uses a solution like this to manage your master data and the value it's brought you?
Yeah, definitely. So I could definitely speak to the value that it's brought to my CoE team. So me being the person that probably uses this every single month to verify our chart of account changes, it really streamlines the process, and the fact that typically you'll see at least one or multiple chart of account changes monthly, and really all that depends. But having a system that really puts all of the system owners in contact with each other and one single source of truth for everyone to go and reach out or go to and kind of pull information out of is very beneficial. Reduces any, not any, but many of the human error that can occur or miscommunication that can happen just through emails. And this way, it's very beneficial that the system owners can go and extract the information they need to make chart of account changes monthly, especially in the syntax that they need for their specific system. So, syntax for cost center might be different in Coupa than it is in NetSuite. So having that specialized report for each of them is also very beneficial, saves a lot of time for them. And then also for us, I mean, one example that I have even just from this past close is we had cost center requests come through. Everyone went through their normal process of going to the MDM, pulling out the information, but one of the systems inputted the cost centers incorrectly. Well, prior to the close, we go in and check, do a cross check. I think you had a slide up there, what those cross checks looks like, but it compares, what I have across all of my Anaplan models inputted for that cost center combination and what other systems it looks like. And then if something comes back out of sync, I exactly know which cost center and which system I need to go reach out to, whether it be Workday or Coupa or NetSuite. So, I mean, yeah, just this month we had something like that where I could quickly have resolved it prior to the close, where we would have probably seen data trying to come through for a specific intersection of data, but wouldn't be able to just because our coding would have been off for a newly requested cost center. So a lot of time savings there, having to go, not having to go back and forth between not only our Anaplan models, but all the other systems as well. So yeah, definitely
Fantastic.
value add. Thanks
so much for that.
Awesome. Well, I know that kind of describes like 15% of your time, Dragana. So I know the other 15% you said you spent around enablement. So what about it specifically do you guys do?
Yeah, so aside from the 50% that we kind of attribute towards, let's say, roughly around model management, and one of those things being using the MDM to keep that at that 15%. Really, the other part of our time, enablement, we spend enabling our users, and why that is important for CoE to lead training and enablement is because by enabling your Anaplan users, you really are empowering your Anaplan users to share the growth potential of your use cases throughout the teams. This also eliminates any resource constraints that can be put on a smaller CoE because, I mean, like I say, I'm one of 3 model builders, but 3 people can only achieve so much in one day. So by implementing an enablement program, we're able to put the power of process improvement in the hands of the SMEs that sit on these teams.
Yeah, thanks. And so I think really for those who don't necessarily have training for your company right now in Anaplan, think about where this kind of might make sense in your journey, whether should this be used for a more advanced CoE such as Groupon, or you can even use this as a starting point to think about how you can train and standardize members that will become the CoE in the future at your company. So, while we were brainstorming our thoughts on how it was really important for Groupon, we really came up with 3 thoughts about why the CoE should lead training. So those 3 thoughts really are deploying company standards, creating those internal Anaplan champions, and achieving greater ROI. So deploying company standards is really when you open an Anaplan model in one department at a company versus if you're opening an Anaplan model in a separate department, you want that consistency to that look and feel of what it might look like. And for internal Anaplan champions, it's also so that you want that to spread across and throughout the organization. Really to Dragana's point, right? Only 3 people in a center of excellence only do so much. And in order to spread the Anaplan word faster and faster with less effort, it really helps with this training. And then finally, achieving greater ROI. So I think we all know that model builder licenses can be expensive, and you want to be able to justify that investment that you're spending for those model builders. So just jumping in first to the first topic of deploying company standards. So I think that kind of means 2 things. One is deploying company standards for your model design itself, and the second is deploying those company standards for project implementation. So by deploying model design company standards, you're able to onboard your model builders faster. I think we all know that Anaplan is a very flexible tool, and you have to apply structure in it in order to give guidance to those new users instead of having them struggle and kind of rebuild or reinvent the wheel. And so by giving some of those design best practices, design standards that you want your company to follow, it's much faster to make sure your model builders get there. I think that also translates to having that consistency for end users, so that terminology of different metrics across models are exactly the same and they have the same feel for end users. And then finally, I think under model design is also deploying new Anaplan features in a standard way across your company. Some examples of that is how you could deploy ALM or deploy the new user experience all at once and all in a consistent manner. On the second point of that, I think, is with project implementation and really standardizing the way you deliver Anaplan projects across your company. You're able to help ensure the quality of the delivery because you are following the same project structure. And using the same project management experience throughout lets the COE jump in from one project to the next and help monitor the success of each project. It really encourages, I think, also cross-department collaboration. So your model builders, if they were to switch from one project to the next, can really jump around without having to ramp up for a longer time period. So I don't know, Dragon, if you want to speak to kind of how this helped you at Groupon?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could definitely speak to how, deploying these company standards has helped our COE at Groupon. Really, before setting up this implementation program, we didn't necessarily have a set rules or build standards that we would have used when we were building new models or new modules or whatever it may be. But while going through the process of setting up our enablement program, we really put a lot of thought into what our Groupon build standards should be. And from there, our COE, not only the people that were going through the training, were going to implement this moving forward, but also our COE started implementing it right away. And we saw a tremendous benefit in that, because even while we were putting our enablement program together, we even had some team members leave and new team members come onto the team, and that passing of hands before that we implemented these build standards, and all those new people that joined the COE were able to grab a model and make sense of it much quicker and easier, because all of our models were really set up, or a majority at the time were set up with a lot of the build standards implemented. Just the way that we have, our modules section set up, lists, how we name actions. So navigating those models was very easy to pick up, and even just made troubleshooting for any new team members easier as well.
Thanks. So I think moving on to our second point was creating those internal Anaplan champions. Doing that gives you the ability to not have to rely on third parties to train your team, or Anaplan in-person trainings as well to enable your resources. The people that you're training to become Anaplan champions can really be on demand, and your Anaplan help desk can be just that one person away that's sitting next to you to help train your team. So I think we broke this out also in two sections. It's building that community and network first off. And so you have a community to reach out to for questions and help after training. You're able to talk to each other about best practices, to share new tips and tricks that you might learn along the way. And that really helps to encourage continuous improvement of those build standards, or of any other standards or new features that come from Anaplan. I think through that network, it leads to the second point of empowerment and expansion. Right? It helps you empower the ownership of owning the system, and it helps you elevate each other to really create kind of the future of Anaplan at your organization, and to define how you want your Anaplan experience to look like at your organization as well. So I know, Dragon, if you want to speak to some of this as well, for how it worked at Groupon.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, having the SME really behind the wheel is really important here. So by training your Anaplan users to be model builders, it really puts even more added value to those people that are putting together these models. So although the three model builders that comprise of the COE at Groupon come from finance backgrounds, we really are taking a look at all different parts of the business and all different work streams across FP&A from every single team. We only have so much expertise from our prior roles. So having that SME being, model builder enabled really puts that extra piece of, that extra expertise in there that is really meaningful when expanding upon your use cases.
Awesome. So I think going on to the last topic that we wanted to touch on for why the CoE should lead training is that achieving that greater return on investment. So I think that's broken down into one, the governance and approval through the CoE. So that really helps the CoE take control and make the strategic distribution of the licenses for model builders across the organization. I think the other point that's important here is you ensure the quality of your license holders, right? You want to ensure that everyone has the right tools and is comfortable with being able to model build effectively in Anaplan once they get that model builder license. And so I think an example here is that at Groupon, you have to pass training in order to receive a license to show that you're able to dedicate the time and put in the work. So I know, Dragana, you have a great example for this.
Yeah, definitely. So, the way that we have our enablement program structured is, even before beginning the program, we do ask that, whoever wants to go through the training program come to us with a use case and clear line of sight how they're going to use their license once completing the training program. And, through there we can see how that aligns with our project roadmap and, also discuss with their managers, is that something that they will have support and ability to dedicate their time to coming out of the training program. And I have a great example of this. It actually turned out the way that we would expected by having this, rigorous set of guidelines before even embarking on the enablement program. We had a group of Anaplan users that, let's say about 11 of them that went through this program, and one of them had a use case, that they really wanted to do. They thought that they had the time to dedicate to this, and as they went through the program or the training, they really got to see firsthand, just what it takes to be a model builder and how much time you really do need to dedicate it, because it is a use it or lose it skill, much like anything. So, once they came out of the model builder program, they really came to us and told us, like right now with their current priority on that team, it probably is a good idea not to continue with, issuing them a license, because it actually requires a lot more time than they had anticipated up front. So, which is totally fine. That is what we would like, someone coming out of the training to be able to consider all these things once they do see what it takes to be a model builder and own a license, and really being in there every day. So, yeah, we actually had somebody come to us and tell us, I actually might not have the amount of time and support that I thought I would have to continue building day in and day out. So it actually, did what it was supposed to.
Nice, yeah, that's smart. So I think we've talked about why it was important, how Groupon saw the benefits of this program. Can you speak a bit more about how it actually panned out in terms of what was the contents in the program itself?
Yeah, so our sneak peek into our enablement program, it was really what we asked of the trainees that were going through the program. It is a 1 week time commitment. So although it's not just 5 days in a row, it is 2 days 1 week, 3 days, or 3 days 1 week, 2 days the next week of full commitment on the training program. Just because of the amount of time that you would spend on some of these exercises and case studies that we put together. So also going into that, what comprised of this 1 week time commitment was a beyond the high level concepts and a deep dive into formulas. So really going step by step and in depth of how to use some of these formulas and when to use them. Also a crash course on Anaplan model best practices, as well as introducing the trainees to our build standards and our list of build standards that they can take away with them once they do finish the program to really implement it into the new, whatever it is that they're building. And then also the enablement training comprises of Groupon specific exercises and case studies. So the exercises, they can take, what we talked about in our deep dive into formulas and, really get their feet wet with how to use those with terminology and use cases they are probably familiar with and have seen at Groupon, and then also a case study that's specifically Groupon related. So we're using lists that you would see, lists and country aggregates that you would really see across Groupon and what they're used to seeing on their day-to-day to just make it much more relatable. And then, a successful completion of the exercises and the case study is really what guarantees you that model builder license at the end of the training.
Awesome. And I think you said that you have trained 10 or 11 people. How many people are you planning to train more? How was that?
Yeah, so in our very first rollout of the enablement program, we had about 11 trainees, and out of that 10 model builders. And, moving on from that, we really see another 4 model builders or trainees that we would like to put through the program that really coincide with probably our newest use case that is going on in sales right now. So once we are back out to our daily lives and out of quarantine, that's definitely the first thing that we're going to look to do is get these Anaplan users enabled.
Awesome. And do you see kind of this program evolving in any way in the future?
Yeah, definitely. So as these use cases grow outside of finance, we can eventually probably see the enablement training to grow with it. So since our biggest use case is in finance, a lot of the exercises and case studies are finance-centric, but we will likely like to look to develop maybe multiple different case study scenarios that could be more fitting based for each of, use cases that might be coming through the program. So like I said, the sales use case that we have coming through, maybe a different type of case study that's less finance centric would be beneficial to them, and more not just like a one size fits all. So definitely maybe building upon that in the long term.
Awesome. Great. Well, I think we really just wanted to end this with a recap on some of our key takeaways. I think if you don't have a Center of Excellence yet, we really wanted to answer the question of how or when will it be a good idea to start one. And I think what you heard today through this Groupon's experience is that they really started off with that organic growth where the Center of Excellence was this very federated ideal where there was a lot of ownership, and kind of through time, it became a more standard and centralized approach where they have these 4 key members in their Center of Excellence. But then through kind of some additions such as master data management that Kevin walked you through today, and also a training program that Dragana and I walked you through today, it's now shifting back towards that hybrid approach of a Center of Excellence. So we really just wanted to take the time today then and thank you for joining us. If you would like to explore anything additional that we discussed today, please don't hesitate to reach out. You have all 3 of our emails here on the screen. And we look forward to keeping in touch.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you for joining us today.